And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode number 6 of the Unwavering Believer podcast. Just insane to me, maybe even insane to some of you who have been here from the start. I don't know where time goes, man. Really been enjoying this, though. A bit of a grind, but, definitely love the whole process, kind of sitting here formally with you guys every Saturday. It's when these are being recorded. Got the black coffee on deck. Pick out a nice topic, a few subtopics, and we're ready to roll. So, without even wasting any time, let's just hop right into this. Episode 6 will be titled, Be a Man. Be a Man. And this is going to come from two different perspectives here. One is just an individual, and one in a relationship. And no, I'm not in a relationship, so I'm not trying to tell you I have all the tricks of the trade, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you got to do for a happy relationship, happy marriage. But I do feel like I still have some sort of valuable insight. Whether you want to take it or leave it, that is up to you. So, beginning with as an individual, and the first subtopic here is something that I can relate to. Extremely. I just had a super long conversation last night with my buddy. He ended up sleeping over, so we're having one of those late night talks on the front steps, little late night stogies, and just kind of chatting it up about life and all our values and things of the world. And the one thing we were able to relate on just so strongly was discipline without reward. Man, oh man, discipline without reward. And sometimes it's even, kind of like in our shoes, a little different than that. It's even more so discipline either without reward, or for some of you, it could be discipline without direction. And I think that's even more intimidating sometimes. Making yourself get up every single morning, doing things you hate to do every single day, and you're not even pursuing anything greater. That somewhere I was for a very long time. At least now I have a little more sense of direction, God willing. But wow, dude, that is, I want to talk about a grind. Talk about having to truly, truly be a man. That is just insanity. It's something I think everyone at some point in time has to experience. And when they do, it's very humbling. Very, very humbling. But those are the times that callous us the most, and build up our will to succeed and our will to pursue things far greater than ourselves. But then eventually you find some direction, and you still may find yourself like where I'm at now, kind of, and it's discipline without reward, and even if there is reward involved, it's just still having to, just get up and do what you got to do every day, even if the reward takes, depending on whatever it is you're pursuing or the industry career you're in, and it takes time. Some things could take months and months and months, if not years, to truly see what it is that you're pursuing. And even if it's such a great reward, you ask me, my honest opinion, I don't think getting up in the morning, it becomes a lot easier. You just got to get up and suck it up and do what you got to do. And that, it's tough to say when it doesn't feel like that anymore. I'm a big, big advocate of this. It's not even something to really brag about, but I'm just so always focused on the future in a sense where, I kind of forget to enjoy the moment. Like I'm already thinking however many years down the road where I could just wake up, in a robe with a nice little coffee or something and just take things slow just because of how much I hate the mornings. But, it's like, you got to enjoy this now, man. You got to enjoy the suck. You see all these older gentlemen and even women as well that you ask them, the old timers, what would they have done differently, or what do they miss, regret, or anything of that sort. And they'll say, the money is good, but, they would do anything for the time back at being, young again, or actually being in the suck, being in the grind, because you can't mimic that. Once you reach a certain limit, once you reach a certain threshold, you can't mimic that sense of butterflies in your stomach, or that almost good anxiety in a way, starting something new, a new job, new passion, new hobby, new anything. It's hard. It is really hard to mimic that, and the more experience you have, the more whatever it is that you live through, with time, it's great because those feelings of discomfort will leave, but it also, in the same right, that feeling of discomfort is what allows you to grow, allows you to feel alive, that adrenaline rush, depending on what it is that you're doing. That's really, really tough to mimic. That's what all these people say. I'm not pretending I know that. I'm just going off what I've seen, what I hear people say. Because I still get that feeling quite often, young enough to, and glad I do in a sense. But in the moment, sometimes it's hard to see that. But anyways, moving on. Forcing yourself, little wordy here, forcing yourself to push yourself. When you're in this rut, the rut of discipline without reward or discipline without direction, you can very easily find yourself, being satisfied or finding ways to make the suck a little less sucky and then being satisfied there. I found myself doing that for a little while, and sorry, I keep rubbing my eye. I don't know if my allergies or what it is, but I found myself doing that. And you tell yourself that you're getting through it and that you're doing enough and that you're doing this, that, and the other. But if, like I mentioned before, I don't know if you guys are new here, I'm 22 years old. So at this point in my life, and anyone even remotely close, I think people should be pursuing their dreams up to the day they die, but to not force yourself out of your comfort zone, to pursue things that really are going to take a lot out of you, to really have to push yourself and commit, and instill such a great deal of just to instill a great deal of discipline. It's, you're only in your prime for so long, and you could pick these things up at any given time, but being even at this age in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, to not just want to, physically test yourself, whether it's just for better well-being. You don't always have to be the guy doing an Ironman. Maybe you've just been a little out of shape for a while and you want to just get into better shape. There's nothing wrong with that, but what I'm getting at is to not want to better yourself physically, at this age. That's what this subtopic really is. Subtopic really is at whatever point in life you are, you should be wanting to push your physical limit, see how far you could really go. Because you only do that for so long. When I say you should be pursuing your dreams so that you die, I'm not saying a 90-year-old man should pursue an Ironman who has never, done a half marathon in his life. But, there's always things to pursue. There's always avenues that you can commit to at any given age, and I just think when it comes to the physicality part of things, you need to do it while you still can. And that goes right into the next thing of pushing your limits. You never know what you're capable of till you try, man. I had an experience about a year ago, a little under a year ago, and I did a half marathon. I've always ran kind of on and off over the years, but nothing really too serious. And I signed up for a half marathon 4 days before. And at that point, I had minimal training, in regard to the actual half marathon itself. That was a mistake. I got through it, but it was dreadful. It was dreadful pain throughout it. But I'll tell you one thing, that pain that I felt, I was telling my buddy yesterday, pain that I felt during that half marathon, because I had zero training and I was at the heaviest point in my life, not in a bad sense, I wanted to get bigger for the gym and things like that, but that pain I felt, I didn't even think was physically possible for me or a human being to endure. And of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, or a bit, really, but that was probably some of the worst pain I've ever felt. Not even, a quarter of the way through the race, and I was just cramping terribly, and, my calves, my lower back, T-band, everything was acting up. But sticking that out, man, I could give a laundry list of things as to why it was worth it. But in reality, it just came down to the fact that I acknowledged quitting was not an option, and I'm not pretending like this is supposed to be some motivational story, like, oh, look what he did, because people do a lot tougher things on a daily basis than that. But just for me personally, it was something that I did with no training. I just wanted to push myself, something to compete for. And boy, was I happy I did it. And probably didn't even, think I could push through some sort of pain like that without actually competing. If that was just me running on some back roads somewhere, trying to compete or just to see if I could do it, trying to run 13 miles on back roads, I don't know if I would have got through that run. I'll tell you that much. But it all just comes down to pushing yourself, man. And that's with being a man, too. 'Cause you're never going to feel it. You're not just going to feel like, oh, you know what? I'm going to sign up for a freaking Ironman. I'm going to sign up for a marathon or this, that, or the other. Because, yeah, you can do that. Like, you can have that conversation with yourself or with your buddies, and it'll sound great in the moment. But it's those who, when they wake up the next day and don't feel that grind, that fire anymore, they continue on anyways. That is the difference. That's the difference between a talker, someone who can't walk the talk, and someone who walks the talk. Anyone can have that motivational talk with yourself, and everyone watching this has had that, guy or girl, that you've had to talk with the guys, with the girls, saying you want to pursue this, start a business, do this, that, or the other, and then the next day the fire's not there anymore, or if it is there, eventually, in a very short period of time, you hit a wall, and your will to succeed is tested, and most of the time, people cave, people fail. But like I said, it's those who, even when it's not there, push through anyways, because that feeling they felt in the moment talking about this dream, is far greater than the lack of will to succeed that they have now. But again, that takes such a level of discipline, and it's all tied in with just being a man, which then, again, all these go hand in hand. The final thing as an individual that I want to talk about is taking accountability for your actions. Taking accountability, something you don't see very often in this world. People are so quick to point fingers at everybody but the man in the mirror. And in reality, it's when you point your finger at the man in the mirror that you learn, that you grow, and that hopefully do not make the same mistake twice. You just don't see a lot of that. As time goes on, you see all these videos everywhere and people talking about, everyone has a reason as to why they're not where they want to be. Everyone has a reason as to why things haven't unfolded, why they were dealt a bad hand in life, and all these things. And I can't speak on anyone else's behalf. I can only speak on the behalf of myself because that's the only life I know. I can't pretend like I know why somebody over there is homeless or why this person is rich or why they were born into money or whatever. Like that doesn't, I can't relate to that. I don't know, and I don't want to speak on someone else's behalf because I don't know. But I can't sit here and ever try and come up or create some sort of reason as to why my childhood wasn't, everything a kid could ever ask for. Yeah, we weren't extremely wealthy, but I never had to worry about, food on the table, clothes on my back, roof over my head, any of that. And maybe that for some people that can create an extreme level of comfort. For some people it can make them want to, grow, and it could turn out for the better, but there's also, there's 1,000 different ways that these things could play out. And people that try to, in any facet of life, say that any one group, any one community is wrapped into one definition is insanity. Excuse me, I'm sorry for continuing to rub my eye, but anyone, I'm gonna repeat that. Anyone who tries to tie one community, one group of individuals, and tie them under one definition is just foolish. I don't care what it is. I mean, seriously. I mean, you look at the world around us, and people could be so quick to point at, white people for just naturally being racist, or for black people as naturally, and they bring up crime rates, or LGBTQ community people as being, always being the worst individuals. And I'm not trying to justify anything here, and nor do I'm trying to get, political for any sense, but at the same rate, I just don't really care. I'm speaking exactly, what I believe needs to be said. But, I bring that up because, and before I move further, I'll just explain that no, I'm not saying that that you should, as a God-fearing man or Catholic Christian, be okay with things like people that play the victim card, or people of the LGBTQ community, as I've touched on very briefly in the past. No, like those decisions are not okay. Like that is not something to accept. But as true God-fearing men and women, we're not to just push those people away. And I know this is kind of steering off in one direction, but I want to touch on this before things, kind of get lost in the translation here. But no, those decisions are not okay, and those are people you don't push away. You need to pray for them even more than normal, and be for them as well. But the reason I haven't brought this up to kind of bring this full circle and get back into the main topic at hand is because I know people that are, part of those movements, or part of any movement that is of the same sort, and they're good people. Like, they're not bad people. You don't just push them away. Those are people you need to pray for, people you need to be there for. But again, they're not all bad people. There's always going to be bad people, not to title anyone that, but people with bad intentions, I'll say. That sounds more appropriate. In each community of individuals, of any race, of any religion, of anything, that you'll find it everywhere. So to tie that, into anything is just insanity. And quite frankly, I know I had this kind of as something I wanted to speak about. I don't know how this even comes, how it exactly relates into everything. It's just something I'm passionate about talking, so forgive me if I veered off a bit there. But it's just, I don't know, that I wanted that to kind of tie into taking accountability. Maybe it's just something I'm passionate about talking and needed to touch on it here. I'm not so sure, but I hope that made a little bit of sense, and I'll clear that up in the future. But for now, I just want to keep moving. And now let's jump into the relationship side of things as being a man. Um, Again, as I said in the beginning of the video, I am not in a relationship. I've been in one in my life. It was more of a younger high school type thing. So, no, I'm not here saying I have marital advice. I'm not licensed to be, a family therapist or psychologist or anything of that matter. But do believe I have some insight. And what you choose to do with it, that's up to you. And I think the biggest one that is so easy to say at first when the emotions are so high and you guys value each other, without any effort, and that's putting your significant other before yourself as a man. And I mean that. I mean in levels of extremes, however you pronounce that properly, that people don't really take into account. And I mean, I'm not just talking, when you guys are together for an extended period of time and things become dull, and then you have to truly go out of your way to make them feel, whole, special, and value them in a way. But I mean, like, it's kind of, I had these two separate ones, but to tie them into one, like old traditions, like having a stay-at-home wife and you being the sole provider of the household, how important I think that can be. But in the same right, the way things get twisted in this generation is, when that happens, one of two things. Either the man can see that as an outlet of power, that they're the sole provider, which means they need to be nurtured and cared for beyond what's necessary. And they abuse that power, and that's when things start to spiral out of control. Or in the other sense, a woman may not want to feel like they're solely dependent on the man, and that she needs to, be a strong, independent sort of woman, which I'm not saying you can't have a job as a woman, but, for that to truly work, for a true old traditional marriage relationship to work in that way, it takes sacrifice on both ends. And, you really got to buy into it, because it's not easy. Everyone could say, oh, the woman just stays at home, she just cooks and cleans, it's nothing, and that's whatever. But, it's a lot more than that. I mean, quite frankly, I think working the job would be easier. I mean, depending on what it is, of course, unless you're like you're working in mines and, in crawl spaces, and crazy and things like that, where you're getting dirty all the time. But in reality, I believe it's almost an equilibrium when it comes to, the level of effort that needs to be put forth between a stay-at-home wife, and a working man. Because it's just the same routine every day. It's like, what is your drive? Like, if your drive as a man is to get up and you have a job that you enjoy and, you work hard for it, and the harder you work, the more money you make, like, that's going to drive you to want to get up, especially if you have a family to provide for. But, if you're a stay-at-home mom, or, it's not, you're not going to wake up all the time with extreme drive, I mean, if you have kids, that's your purpose, like, to get up, to get them ready for school, and everything that comes with that. And then throughout the day while they're at school, prepping the house or cleaning the house, prepping food, whatever it is that you do, there's no motivation in that. Like, you're doing it just because you have to. And I believe that takes so much more, I think that takes so much more strength for someone to do that versus someone to go out, socialize while they make money and work and all these things. And again, they're both hard work. I'm not trying to, say that men don't have to work hard, but I think it doesn't get enough attention. I think women that stay at home, as stay-at-home moms, it just completely gets overlooked. And I don't think that's fair, because I know it's not easy. I've seen it. My mom worked her whole life, worked extremely hard. Actually could have been a doctor, but she chose to be a mom instead. So she did, instead she did high-end interior designing, which she still does on the side. But she made the commute to Long Island twice a week, and I don't think she's ever made a mistake literally in her career. Like, she was just that good at what she does. But COVID is kind of a wreck, and it's a family business that they had over in Long Island. So things kind of fell apart, and then people in the family got sick, so she was taking care of everyone, doing freaking 1,000 things a day to take care of this family. And yeah, my father works extremely hard as well. But the only thing is, it's, he's getting up to go work his butt off, make money to provide, and do things for the future. But watching your mom do it, in a sense, it's like, wow, like, where does that drive come from almost, and she doesn't, and the second she wakes up to the second she goes to bed, she doesn't sit down all day. It's almost like as if she's working as well. It's insane. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this as well. It's something very humbling to witness, because it's like sometimes I lack discipline when I'm in a place to pursue 1,000 different things and all of my biggest dreams and everything. For stay-at-home moms, it's a little different. It's kind of that passion and that drive isn't there. I don't even know what could create that, other than I know kids, that's your discipline. That's something you may enjoy doing to a sense, but I don't think anyone enjoys getting up at 5 or 6 o'clock to freaking, make breakfast and lunches and get their outfits ready and all these things. I mean, I know it's your purpose as a mother or a father, but there's no drive in that, and it's just, the reason we even bring this up is because, not to babble either. It's just witnessing it, I've always had an amazing relationship with my mother and an amazing respect for her, but witnessing her, cause getting up every single day without complaining. And it's like, I mean, she's not pursuing any crazy dream at the moment. She doesn't have time for it. Even as a stay-at-home mom, she doesn't have time for it, excuse me. And it's like, or stay-at-home wife. Now, I'm old enough, obviously, but, it's just crazy. It's crazy. Like, here we are, whether in your 20s, 30s, whatever, and you're pursuing these big, crazy dreams, hopefully. And, that could be your drive to get up in the morning, your why, your purpose, want to be able to provide for your family, friend, whoever. But there's no drive. It's just discipline. I mean, moms are just workhorses, man. I mean, just as much as the men are. And my father works like a dog. I mean, it's like, and I know you guys can relate to this. It's just incredible. Like, who are we really to need some sort of crazy drive to want to get up when our parents do it, And usually, I mean, in most cases, I don't know who your parents are, if they're pursuing some crazy, massive dream, but it's like, it's just solely discipline to provide that gets them up every morning. And it's incredible. It's incredible to witness when you acknowledge it, but until you acknowledge it, you completely overlook it. And it's crazy. Just crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But anyways, I know I tied off a little bit there, so I apologize, but I hope some of you guys can relate to that. I wanted to touch on this really quickly because I have a few other things, but one thing that goes overlooked as well, but I kind of touched on it very briefly, is making your significant other feel like the only girl in the world. And I obviously I draw up my head now things I would do, how I'd go about it when the time is right, when the Lord has prepared my significant other for us to kind of come together and then work together as well. We're not going to come perfect. Oh jeez, my dog kind of going nuts. Sorry. But I think that's just so important, and that's part of being a man, because you're not going to enjoy every second of that. I apologize. I was taken away. Somebody was at the house where the dog was freaking out, so I had to go say hello. But what I was getting at is, before I got carried away, it's with relationships too. There's such a great sense of discipline that comes to that people completely overlook, and that is having to go out of your way as a man to really show the woman you're with that you value them, that they're worth the extra effort, that you don't regret the decision you made when emotions were so high, that the reason you're with her is not because of your emotions, solely because of, how you guys are as a team, and that you believe God created them for you, for each other. And you see all these videos, these old timers, again, people they need to look to for wisdom because they've experienced so many things in a time that wasn't as corrupt and disgusting as it is now. Divorce was just not an option. I was just talking to my buddy about this the other day. It's like you get married and it's like, all right, let's flip a coin, see if we're getting divorced or not. It's like, that's how common it is. And it's ridiculous. And that's why I like to say with my buddies too. It's like, I mean, with some of the guys you're really close with, I always say, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter what happens, what is said, what's done, whatever. Like, at the end of the day, you don't, like giving up on each other, kind of whatever. If they're really that special to you, if they're really worth it like that to you, this is not an option, to leave each other in the dark, to actually, go on in life without each other. You don't have to be glued at the hip. You don't have to talk every single day. It may take some time, to repair whatever it is that was done. But the same way you say quitting isn't an option when you're competing, or quitting's not an option when you're doing anything, it's got to be the same exact thing with relationships, whether it's with your boys or with the significant other. Like, if they're really worth it to you, like family, leaving is not an option. It's just not. And that's exactly what all these old timers talk about. It just, in their day, and still to this day, it was not an option to leave. And that's the things with relationships, man, and being a man, and acknowledging as a couple that you will be attracted to other people during your time together. It'll happen over the rest of your time together and the rest of your lives. You will be attracted to other people. It's just about what you do with it. That's why it comes down to being a man, being disciplined, that you know what to do when those feelings arise. Because that's why people cheat. I mean, that's why all these things even happen. It's because your emotions take over, your fleshly desires take over, and you act on them. That's why you're with the person you're with now. Because your emotions led you to them. You felt attracted to them. You had that emotional attraction to them, the emotional, connection in a sense. And eventually, it just being there, like second nature, will subside. It won't be like that forever. You will eventually have to fight for it. So the same way you'd love to take your girl out to dinner, take her on a date, to do this, that, or the other, that won't be there anymore. But the point of being a man is that you still do it, because of how much it means to them. And eventually, again, I don't know how it's going to be. I can't say I've been in a 30-year marriage or that, going solely off the word of the old timers I see talking about these things. But I genuinely believe that spark will come. It'll come back and it'll be there. It may not always feel like the first date, second date, or third date, but the bond that is created from forcing yourself to get out of your comfort zone, to get out of your shell, be disciplined, and realize you're in this for life. I mean, there's beauty in that. There's so much beauty in that, man. And it's a passionate topic for me that I talk about with only a few of my close guy friends, because it's just disgusting to see what goes on, man. I mean, and that's why when people cheat, that feeling goes away. That feeling, that spark you get when you first started with the person you're with now, when that goes away, a new one will come with somebody else. That's the devil in disguise, man. I talk about it all the time, that the devil doesn't appear to you as some big three-headed dragon with a tail spitting fire, 1,000 freaking miles tall. It's not like that. He appears to you the most beautiful things, beautiful in the eyes of the world. Let me quote unquote that. That he appears to you like that and tries to get you to give in. He can't do it for you. That's like, people try to blame the devil for everything. Yes, the temptation will be there, but it's on you whether you want to act or not. And that's what faith is about too. But that's what the feeling you get, that adrenaline rush comes back when you maybe find another attractive man or woman that, that their intentions are with you, what they want to do with you. Maybe they're talking to you just straight up in a way that you shouldn't be entertaining. It's about what you do with it. But that feeling, that rush that comes back with the risk that comes with entertaining something like that, that is what leads people into surrendering their discipline and then what they know is right and giving in. You got to make a decision. The same way when people used to train for sports, I would like to hope you were committed, that giving up just wasn't an option. You just train harder, you just keep getting back up, you fight, whether it's sports, whether it's competing of any sort. It's got to be the same way in every single part of your life, including relationships. Giving up is not an option. It's not an option. And as a man, it's your duty to uphold that, to portray that, and hope that the woman you're with will reciprocate that. I mean, I'm not saying you have to hold her against her will to say, you can't leave, but it is your duty to uphold that standard. You don't see that anymore. What you see now are 25, 35, 45-year-old children who do not value women the same way. Women have become more of a trophy these days. And I don't know what it's going to take for that to turn around. I can't speak on the behalf of others, but for myself, I know that when I believe the Lord has prepared me to be my significant other and that she's been prepared, not again, that we're both perfect and, just going to commingle and be best buddies at first and then, turn like the perfect love story. That's not what I'm expecting or even hoping for, really. Just that we're prepared in a sense where we know where we stand. We're deeply rooted in our faith. And we'll be loyal and committed to each other. And that's, obviously be a lot of bumps and things in the road, but leaving is not an option. Even entertaining the idea of another woman acting unholy and you like I said, entertaining that's just not even an option. That's just not an option. And it's something that fires me up because I'm just so sick of seeing it go on around me. Just childish relationships and things that have zero value. People just entertain for temporary feeling, that they entertain it just they don't have to feel the feeling that comes with being heartbroken, and watching how people treat each other's relationships nowadays. It's just, it's so childish. It's disgusting, and that's why the wait is worth it. You're watching this and maybe you're in the same boat saying you want to find the right one, you want to move forward, you want to do this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, the wait is worth it, because this is someone that hopefully, if you're like me, you want to commit to for the rest of your life. And that's not something you just do overnight. You want to become a multi-millionaire. You can't just try and build something overnight, because it means there's no foundation, and it'll ultimately just probably fail, either in the long run or in the short term. So it's worth the wait. Commit to the wait, commit to God first. And with time, he will provide. With time, he will provide. That's just so huge. I should have wrote that down. The wait is worth it, because it is. 1,000 times over. The wait is worth it. God is preparing you. He's preparing the right one for you. And then that's his part. Then you guys come together. You put him at the center of your relationship. It's up to you to uphold every standard that is appropriate, that is required, asked of us by the Creator. And in doing so, I believe there's nothing, no force above or beyond this earth that can separate you guys. With God at the helm, that's it. That's absolutely it, And the last thing I'll say, with being a man, that my buddy and I were talking about this last night in our deep talk, in being a man, this may sound a little extreme, a little crazy, and I'll elaborate a little bit on it, because it's getting a little lengthy, this episode, but almost putting every single person around you before yourself. Not in the sense where you have to sacrifice every ounce of happiness, every ounce of meaning or anything in your life, but genuinely making it a priority to provide opportunity, protection, love, and a genuine presence for everyone around you. No matter how you feel, whatever's going on, that's a huge part of being a man. Not allowing your own personal life to dictate how you're going to act around others. Again, another thing you don't see very often. Doesn't matter how old they are. Nowadays, you're starting to see people, in their 20s, 30s, or even 40s. It's like time is just not providing any wisdom for some of these people, because they serve terrible things, serve terrible false gods, and it's going to take time. You pray for those people that they come around, but can't just control everyone, tell everyone what to do. So that being said, I think I'm going to wrap this up here. We're a little over 30 minutes now. And, this is really, I'm passionate about this topic. I enjoyed it. And by no means my, Goggins or Jocko Willink or anyone even remotely close to that, but I feel like there's some sort of insight that whether I instill it in my life or I'm working to or need to, whichever, I still believe these are the directions people should be following, not because it's my own human reason, but again, things I've learned from faith and faith alone only, because not even that long ago, I was just, completely immature and a child, when I was like 19, 20 years old. Just brutal, but with time, with faith, these things are possible. It's rapid change and wisdom, not rapid, but things that come with time and only by faith. So wrap that up there. Thank you guys for tuning in again. I really enjoy these episodes. It's a lot of fun. Very passionate about it, and I love some of the feedback I've been getting too. People are actually listening and enjoying it and learning in a sense, and that's what this is all about. So trying to turn social media into something a little less dark and a little less demonic, honestly, is what it's come to. So thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate you guys. And until next time, God bless.